All right, my name is Chris Campbell. I'm a practicing CPA, and I work with small businesses and individuals to help pay the least amount of taxes possible while keeping them out of jail. So today I wanted to give, say, kind of a quick tip. I figured I'd share my experience with the payroll. This is an experience I had with a recent client, and this can be a great time saver, the use of payroll cards. So I have a client that's in the restaurant industry, and they have a number of employees who would be considered underbanked or simply don't have bank accounts. Because they don't have bank accounts, they want to receive paper checks. Now, as my team is responsible for running a payroll, we want to keep it as efficient as possible, which translates to issuing as many direct deposits as possible. The act of physical checks can be pretty cumbersome. As far as logistics are concerned, it can be tough to issue paper checks because if that person doesn't necessarily work every day, then you either have to physically link up to give that person their paycheck, or you got to pop it in the mail. Most folks, when it's payday, they want to get paid on the day of and not wait for 2 or 3 days or however long it takes to receive in the mail. Then you got to wait for another couple of days to cash the check unless you go to a cash checking place, and that can be pretty cost prohibitive. Point being is that physical checks, especially with some employees that don't have bank accounts, can get rather timely and expensive. So I wanted to put folks on to the use of payroll cards because with payroll cards, it allows the employer to issue a debit card. It's like a prepaid debit card that you can load with the payroll. If you get with a company, they'll issue a number of pre-issued dummy cards. And when you hire that individual, and if they tell you they don't have a bank account, you can just give them a card, activate the card, and then you can deposit their paycheck on this card. And then that person can use the card just as they would any other regular debit card. So solves a number of problems. You don't have to issue a check. They always have the card on them. So they don't need to link up to you to get paid or wait in the mail to get paid. So they'll get paid at the same time that everybody else gets paid. It gets treated as a direct deposit. And then they don't have to wait for cash out, whether that be go cash the check, or they don't have to worry about paying a ton of fees and cash the check. So it creates a win-win situation. And also it can be a perk for that employer as a way to help reduce employee turnover because it's a nice, convenient way to get paid, even if the employee doesn't have a bank account. I know that there are a number of industries where you may have a good number of employees in that position. I had operated a home care agency a few years ago, and I had a number of employees who did not have bank accounts. So it came in very handy being that a lot of our work was remote and the office was a good distance from where many of the employees lived. The fact that we were able to issue these payroll cards definitely served as a perk with some of our employees and helped turnover because while some agencies were issuing the check and they'd have to drive to the office every time to get the check, they didn't have that issue with us. So it can be a great benefit, great perk for those employers. So great way to set you apart. Now, another thing I wanted to point out was this service is normally provided with a lot of the larger payroll providers, your ADPs, your paychecks. They usually offer this service complimentary for you. And I know that some of the smaller providers don't have that service. Personally, I'm a big fan of Gusto, and it's a service they don't currently provide. However, you can go and just obtain these payroll cards on your own. I recently had to do that for a client who had to get the payroll cards, and there are providers out there where you can reach out direct and get those payroll cards. For the most part, it's at no cost to you as the employer. So it's a relatively free solution. Some providers may charge you shipping charges to send you the cards. I was recently able to secure a deal where we're not even paying for the shipment of the cards. So it's essentially a free service to the employer. Now, the provider makes all of their fees based upon the use of the card, ATM fees, withdrawal fees, and things of that nature, but they make their money from the employee end and not necessarily the employer end. So there are free options out there. So you can reach out to some of these folks and engage in conversation with them. Two providers that I've had initial conversations with was NetSpend And Brinks, yeah, I was surprised. Brinks, actually, the armored truck company, offers these services. Makes sense, but didn't know it until I started researching it. So if you're in certain industries like home care, the restaurant industry, the auto body industry, any industry where you may have a number of employees that they're lower wage and don't have a bank account. So this could be a good way that won't cost you any money and save you actually a lot of time and money. Highly advise you to look into that if you're not a part of that already, and you can get out of issuing paper checks for payroll. All right. I hope this helps. If you have any additional questions about this topic or any other question about accounting or taxes, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. So that's all for now, and I'll talk to you in the next.